Warning: you're being sold a luxury lifestyle by influencers who are actually $50,000 in credit card debt, and honestly, your bank account is the collateral damage. I see it every single time I scroll through my feed. The perfectly curated beige aesthetic, the $12 organic matcha lattes, and that girl morning routine that looks so effortless and expensive. But here's the reality check you didn't ask for. It's a total scam. Serious. You're watching a theatrical production of success where the lead actors are one missed paycheck away from a complete financial collapse. That vintage Chanel flat bag you're envying? The one that's supposed to signal she's a boss babe who has her life together? Well, there is a very high probability that bag was financed at a 24% APR. I mean, think about how insane that is. They are literally paying the bank a premium every single month just to prove to total strangers that they've arrived, right? This is the status tax. It's the invisible, soul-crushing fee you pay to look like you've made it when you haven't actually built a thing. It's the money you light on fire just to keep up with a digital version of the Joneses who are actually drowning in debt behind the filters. While you're sitting there feeling behind because you don't have the latest haul, you see the banks are getting rich off the interest of people who prioritize optics over equity. Look, if you want to actually be in the 1%, the real 1%, not the I have a high credit limit 1%, you have to stop playing their game. You have to trade the aesthetic for something much more powerful and, honestly, much less trendy. Aggressive boredom. It's the psychological antidote to the trap you're being lured into, and it's the only habit that actually builds a legacy instead of just a pretty grid. Let's actually do some math that your favorite influencers conveniently leave out of their captions. I mean, they have to, right? I call it the math of ego, and frankly, it's the most expensive tax you'll ever pay. It's brutal. When you drop $5,000 on a status purchase, maybe it's the bag everyone's carrying this season or a luxury vacation just for the content, you aren't just out $5,000. You've basically committed financial arson on your future self. I want you to look at the real cost here. If I take that $5,000 and put it into a boring index fund with a standard 10% market return, we can use the rule of 72 to see your real loss. 72 divided by 10 is 7.2. That means every 7 years, your money doubles. In 21 years, that $5,000 would have been $40,000. Look at that number. I mean, really look at it. You didn't just buy a bag, you burned an entire year of your retirement. You traded 12 months of absolute freedom for a piece of leather that will be out of style by next Tuesday. It's a scam, and you're the one funding it. This is what I call the wealth gap. In my world, the wealth gap isn't about social classes, it's the distance between what you actually earn and how much you feel the desperate need to show off. The math is simple, really. The smaller your ego, the larger your brokerage account. The problem is, we've been conditioned to believe that if we don't look rich, we aren't successful. But here's the cold, hard reality. The more you scream for validation with your spending, the more you're signaling that you're actually insecure about your net worth.
The real 1%? Honestly, they're often invisible. They're the ones in the grocery store with 7-figure portfolios and no logo on their t-shirt, while you're sweating your credit card statement trying to maintain an aesthetic that's literally keeping you broke. But that's not even the craziest part of this psychological trap. Because while you're busy taxing yourself for status, there's a specific hidden reason why your brain actually tricks you into thinking these purchases are investments. And it's a total lie that starts the moment you open your banking app. So, how do we actually break this cycle? It starts with what I call aggressive boredom. It sounds dull because, well, it is. And that's exactly why the 1% use it to stay ahead, while you're busy financing a lifestyle for people you don't even like. Step 1 is the status audit. I want you to pull up your bank statement from the last 90 days and highlight every single I've arrived purchase. You know the ones, right? That $300 skincare set that promised a glow, but just delivered a massive credit card balance. Or that designer belt with the logo that literally screams, "I have a high-interest car loan." Look, these aren't purchases. They're entry fees to a club that doesn't actually exist. You're paying 100% of your hard-earned cash for 0% of the actual wealth. It's a scam. I mean, it's a scam you're running on yourself. Next, we implement the 72-hour rule. Look, I get it. I really do. You see that must-have oversized blazer on your feed, and suddenly your brain treats it like a literal medical emergency. It's not an emergency. It's a dopamine trap. By waiting just 72 hours before hitting checkout, the chemical spike in your brain drops by about 80%. Usually by day 3, that life-changing item just looks like another piece of overpriced polyester that's going to end up in a donation bin by next season. If the charm wears off that fast, it was never an investment. It was just an itch you were tricked into scratching. Step 3 is the ghost contribution. This is where you actually start winning. You need to set up an automated $500 transfer, or whatever your status budget was, and send it straight to VOO or VTI. Do it the exact day your paycheck hits. I want that money gone before you even have the chance to feel rich. If you never see the money in your checking account, you can't spend it on the latest restock video trend. You're essentially tricking your brain into living on less while your net worth compounds in the background. Over 10 years, that $500 a month at an 8% return becomes over $90,000. Honestly, that's a lot more aesthetic than a closet full of clothes that lost their value the moment you cut the tags. Finally, you have to delete the apps. TikTok and Instagram aren't social platforms anymore. They are highly optimized digital catalogs designed to trigger your scarcity mindset and make you feel like you're falling behind. Every time you scroll, you're being hunted by algorithms that know exactly which clean girl aesthetic will make you feel inadequate enough to reach for your wallet. When you remove the triggers, you stop the financial bleeding. Period. This is the exact moment you pivot from being a mindless consumer to becoming a legitimate owner.
But that's not even the craziest part of this transition. Because once you stop spending to look rich, you'll notice a bizarre shift in how people actually treat you. There's a dark side to stealth wealth that no one prepares you for, especially when your inner circle realizes you're no longer playing their game. I want you to look at 2 women for a second, because this is exactly where the simulation of success usually falls apart. Let's call them Sarah and Maya. Both of them just landed a $20,000 raise. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, see, Sarah is what I call the status chaser. She's been told her entire life that as her income goes up, her standard of living must follow. So, naturally, she immediately trades in her reliable car for a $700 a month lease on a luxury SUV, because she wants to look the part at the office. Then, she moves out of her perfectly fine apartment into a high-rise with an aesthetic rooftop pool, bumping her rent by another $800. I mean, on Instagram, Sarah looks like she's winning. She's posting level-up reels and tagging everything as blessed. Then there's Maya. I call Maya the aggressively bored. Maya gets that same $20,000 raise and does absolutely nothing. She keeps driving her 2018 Toyota with the slightly faded paint, the one that's actually paid off. She stays in her $1,800 a month rent-controlled apartment even though the cabinets are dated. She takes that $20,000 raise, roughly $1,600 a month after taxes, and funnels every single cent into a boring as hell S&P 500 index fund. She doesn't post about it. She doesn't get any likes for it. Poor her, right? Now, let's run the simulation forward 10 years. Sarah's life is a curated museum of depreciating assets. Her closet is a literal graveyard of last season trash. Designer bags that are now worth 20% of what she paid, and clothes that went out of style 3 years ago. Her net worth?
It's effectively zero. She has spent 10 years working 60-hour weeks just to fund a lifestyle that she doesn't even own. She is one bad performance review away from total financial collapse, trapped in a gilded cage she built for herself. Maya, on the other hand, has been bored for a decade. But that $20,000 annual investment, compounding at a conservative return, has ballooned into a $300,000 portfolio. While Sarah is panicking about her boss's mood swings, Maya has acquired the ultimate luxury, the power to say no. If Maya's job becomes toxic, she can walk away tomorrow. She isn't performing wealth, she is actually holding it. So I have to ask, who is actually living her best life? The one who looks rich in a 1080p photo, or the one who is actually wealthy in her brokerage account? Most of you are being scammed by your own ego into thinking that spending money is the same thing as having it. It's not. It's the literal opposite. Every dollar you spend to look like the 1% is a dollar you've stolen from your future self to buy a temporary hit of dopamine. But there's a reason why almost no one chooses Maya's path, and it's not because they aren't smart enough to do the math. There is a psychological trap buried deep in our social conditioning that makes being aggressively bored feel like a death sentence. And if you don't recognize it, you'll end up like Sarah, staring at a closet full of expensive trash and wondering where your life went.
However, there was one specific detail in Maya's strategy that everyone missed. A glitch in the wealth building process that can actually double your speed, if you're brave enough to trigger it. Let's be real here. The reason I call this a glitch is because it feels, well, fundamentally wrong in a world designed to keep you scrolling and spending. See, that detail Maya mastered, it wasn't some secret stock tip or a high-risk crypto moonshot. It was the sheer audacity to be invisible. We are living in an era where people are literally going into debt, total financial ruin, just to finance a lifestyle that impresses strangers who don't even like them. It's pathetic, right? And if I'm being honest, it's a scam you're running on yourself. Real wealth, the kind that the top 1% actually keep, doesn't look like a rented G-Wagon or some logo-drenched outfit that screams, "I just got my tax return." It's silent. It's aggressively boring, you know? It's the $500,000 sitting in a boring index fund while you're wearing a $15 t-shirt from Target. It's the absolute peace of mind that comes from knowing you don't owe anyone a damn thing. It's the ability to say no to a toxic boss because your bank account is louder than your social media feed. See, every time you buy something just to prove you're making it, you're simply paying a status tax to stay poor. You're trading your 50-year-old self's freedom for a 24-hour hit of dopamine from people who will forget your post by dinner. I'm telling you right now, your future self, she doesn't give a damn about how many likes you got on that vacation you couldn't actually afford. She cares about whether she's forced to work until she's 80 because you were too busy performing for a stupid algorithm. So here's the reality check. If your life looks expensive, but your net worth is a joke, you aren't winning. You're just a well-dressed victim of the attention economy. The goal isn't to look rich, right? The goal is to actually be wealthy. And those two things almost never look the same. Stop performing. Start building. Comment boredom if you're finally ready to stop the act and start building real security. It lets me know you're one of the few who actually gets it. And if you're tired of being sold a lie and want the cold, hard truth about your money, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.